Hey everybody, it's the guy with the bow tie coming with you live for another Business with Benefits. To my right, I have Jeff Sheehan. Thank you for Team Replay, those of you checking us on the replay. Also, thank you for Team Live. A lot of us are cooped up at home because of COVID-19, so at least you can learn while you're at home. So, Jeff, how's it going on your side of the world? I'm in the Kennesaw area. What part of town are you in?
I'm in East Cobb Roswell area, so it's going well here. Kind of a beautiful day right now. The sun keeps popping in and out, so it's a nice spring day. And it's not spring yet officially, but it feels like it certainly.
Does it look like a ghost town anywhere on the roads?
I haven't been out. I haven't been out in 2 days now. I was thinking about going to run on the river, but it was raining this morning. A kind of overcast day, so I said forget it. But perhaps tomorrow I'll go back down there. Nice quiet place, not too far from my house.
Okay.
So, but all is well.
Well, at least you're in good health. I know I had somebody I was supposed to have a phone call with today that they thought they had some symptoms of COVID, so they
really
canceled the call and said, "Let's just do this after I check myself out." So
okay. Hopefully they're okay.
Yeah, I hope they are. I think it was just kind of just being safe instead of sorry, but you never know nowadays. And something you and I were talking about before we got on the live real quick was that the way COVID's affecting the world, the airline industry, I've noticed a lot of media reports are kind of, hammering them a lot, which for good reason. I mean, our Hartsfield Airport, I think, closed most terminals.
Correct.
How many aircraft did you find out were affected by this right now for people to get some idea of that?
Well, I think I told you, around 600, I believe, Delta is parking.
So 600 airplanes, so nobody's going anywhere.
No. After a short period of time, certainly when they park all those aircraft, there'll be very few flights, I would think. So just in the case of emergencies or whatever, they'll probably turn those over into cargo ops to move surgical masks and gowns and whatever else is necessary from one location in the country to another, wherever the greatest crisis is.
Okay. Well, to get off of the morbid topic, you're a wealth of knowledge, but you have decades of experience. So I wanted you to kind of share your resume a little bit with people so they kind of get why you're a valuable person when it comes to marketing.
Oh, okay. As you said, I've been at this for decades, and actually, it all started in a serendipitous, divine moment down in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Yeah, and I talk every 2 weeks at Roswell United Methodist Church here, the job seekers. And for the last 10 plus years, I've been talking about using LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Google for the job search and how to network for the job search as well. And it's been pretty much from the heart effort. Monetarily, it has not been rewarding whatsoever. However, I still love doing it. I help countless thousands of people, either speaking to them in the audience or meeting with them face to face for their respective job search. I've seen everything, people crying on my shoulders and what have you. But that all came about in 1978 when I was down in St. Thomas. I met a guy. He was on the flight from San Juan to St. Thomas. Hi, how are you? He checked in the same hotel. 2 days later, we're out on the beach there in St. Thomas, and he asked me what I did. I said I work for a bank in Boston called Boston Safe Deposit Trust Company. It's not Bank Mellon. And I said, I've been there for 2 years, and I really wanted to move on. I wanted to get a position in high-tech marketing and sales. And the reason being, it had always been in my mind to get into that area. My father missed out on the opportunity to join a digital equipment company, a corporation, I should say. When they had like 5 to 10 employees, he would have been one of employee number 7 or something like that. But he didn't move from Quincy, Mass to Maynard, Mass. But it would have had a profound impact positively on our family and that, but there were some other circumstances why I didn't move. So it always been in the back of my mind to get in high tech and ride the wave. So this guy I met, we were out in the water there in St. Thomas, and he said to me, oh, by the way, I own or am co-founder of a high-tech company in Hopkinton. Why don't you give me a call when you get back to Boston? I'll give you my business card when we get back to the beach, and you call me. So I got back to Boston, and I called him. I went out and interviewed with him, his other co-founder, as well as several of their employees. And 2 days later, I had a job offer from them, and I joined them. It was a company that manufactured moisture analyzers.
Now,
moisture. Yes, absolutely. I knew absolutely nothing about it. They were near-infrared moisture analyzers, so there was a lot of technical aspects to the machines. They sold for $7,000 approximately. So
I went around in the 80s, right?
This is in late 70s. Okay. So I
Okay.
traveled throughout the United States, parts of Jamaica and Mexico, selling these things and going into manufacturing facilities such as with Dow Chemical, Georgia Pacific, Exxon, and so many others. Going right there on the manufacturing lines and installing this equipment and testing them to see whether they could adequately measure the moisture content of the production process. Because what would happen is they'd use these devices to measure the moisture content and create a closed loop system so that they didn't have too much overheating in the facilities with
Hmm.
regard to the oven and the throughput of the products. So it was a fascinating job. Then I was there for 2 years, went to another company called the Foxborough Company, involved in pH, ORP, gas chromatographs. Again, I knew nothing about this stuff whatsoever. And it was all about analytical chemistry. And believe me, I'm the furthest thing from a chemist, but I learned this stuff and I went out and sold and marketed analytical equipment to some of the world's largest companies. Again, Exxon,
Hmm.
BASF, uh, Dow Chemical, you name it, a household name of companies that I marketed and sold their respective products to. Then I decided I wanted to move to Atlanta and
Hmm.
joined a company called Murata Electronics. It's now about a 15 to $16 billion Japanese company, 50,000 employees. And I worked there. I was hired uh, initially as an assistant product manager for PCT products, which are filters and
Okay.
also buzzers for various electronic equipment. You name it, they're used in the products. So, as assistant product manager there, working, calling on companies like Apple Computer, Hewlett Packard, and whole household names in that respective industry and
Hmm.
developed marketing plans, marketing campaigns for these products, and went around and gave presentations to that. And then I stayed at that for a while. Left and did something else for a short period of time. Came back to their ad agency and worked on ad campaigns and marketing campaigns for their respective products, designing brochures, developing ad concepts, writing copy, the
Hmm.
whole myriad of different responsibilities in the advertising and marketing world. So I really you know, was firmly entrenched in it. I subsequently went back to Murata as EDP and Communications Marketing Segment Manager,
Hmm.
working on products marketing for that, and then moved over to the sales side in conjunction with that, and was actually one of the first people in the strategic account marketing program for them. Now it's out there. The buzzword is ABM, account-based marketing.
Yeah. Count. Yep.
I was involved in the late '80s with regard to account-based marketing before it was canned or coined account-based marketing. Quite honestly, so
Hmm.
many years in various aspects of marketing and sales. And I went on, got a master's degree in marketing, and so well schooled in it, and
Yeah.
I continue to love it. I've pursued this quite handsomely with a great deal of passion over the
Hmm.
last several decades.
So what would you say? I mean, all of those, technical things, marketing probably sounds daunting for that because if it's something you don't know about, it's something that's not common. It's a product that's
Oh,
kind of a
correct,
niche thing.
correct.
What is marketing to you with all your experience? What would you say marketing is?
Addressing the needs of the customer, developing products and services that the market or customers needs. And like Murata was famous for that. Murata was
Mm-hmm.
always at, and still is at the leading edge of technology in so many different areas.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely incredible with whether it's RF. Right now, the major customer, and this is public knowledge, is Apple Computer. They produce, according to one analyst estimate about a year ago, $10 worth of product for every Apple iPhone. So it's marketing and develop solutions to problems to with regard to technology.
Okay, and you've been on definitely pre-internet with being in late '78,
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
starting out
absolutely,
with
yes,
everything.
correct. I mean, I was at the stage when faxes, telex
Mm-hmm.
would have to send a telex. What was great about that time period is you send a telex and you have to wait because we were the headquarters is based in Kyoto, Japan, and the Japanese sales office in Tokyo. So we'd send something over. We'd have to wait overnight before we get a response. So you
Mm-hmm.
pretty much could sleep at night. Then came faxes. So you'd send the fax again, you have to wait. Then what happened is, the cell phone era, and I was involved in the cell phones actually with going to different marketing meetings with regard to cell phones before cell phones were anywhere near ubiquitous. There are very
Yeah.
few people using them, and the cell phones are as big as bricks that made
Yep.
by
Yep.
Motorola. And we were at the advent of that. We were intimately involved in the design aspects with companies like Motorola and Nokia with regard to the cell phones. And then I worked with Intel in working with them on the designs of the microprocessors and the components that surround the microprocessors. They're providing the energy source to quickly power them up, and worked a number of PhDs, and it did so much in that respective area on a global basis, traveling around to their various facilities and looking at what they were doing in that. So just a phenomenal career with regard to the exposure they had, leading edge technologies, and some of the phenomenal people that I met over the years that were really pushing the envelope with regard to new technology development.
So with you seeing all that change and everything, there's probably a lot of commonalities, but I think people are kind of needing to understand marketing more because the new normal seems like we're going to have more social distancing as a result of this
Correct.
whole outbreak. So I think it's really timely that we're talking marketing because, previously you might just throw a video out there and have no concept of what you're doing and just hope that somebody sees it. But I think now you're going to see a lot more content coming out because you can't go to visit people. So what would you say is kind of the first at the baseline when somebody's saying, hey, I'm getting into social media marketing or I don't know a thing about social media marketing? What do you think is kind of the foundational piece they need to figure out before they start putting out any kind of copy?
I think the first thing, it's like building a house, is you need to take an introspective look at yourself. What's your expertise? What's areas of, what are your skill sets? With regard to what you're doing? What do you want to do? What is your why? And develop that. Write that down before you do anything else. Don't just jump into these platforms and do it. Otherwise, it's a treadmill to nowhere, quite honestly. The hours will turn into, the minutes will turn into hours, the hours into days, the days into weeks, weeks into months. And essentially, you get nowhere. So you need to really sit back, take a good look at yourself, and what do I offer to the public that's different from everyone else out there? You can't be a me too. You have to differentiate yourself in some regard and use that based upon what you have for education, what you have for experience, what you have for passion, and what does the future look like for the respective area? And you need to focus. I mean, one of the mistakes that I made when I was downsized 10 and a half years ago is I wasn't focused. If you can't afford that luxury in this day and age. You cannot be a general. You have to really hone in on some type of discipline, but make sure it's a discipline that has legs, that you're trying to catch the wave rather than being on the wave. It has already started cresting and heading for the beach. It's so critical to your success. Position yourself accordingly. Become a copious consumer of anything that's published with regard to those respective areas.
Okay.
Read, absorb with regard to what you're doing, and use that information to position yourself as an ultimate authority within your respective discipline. So like you become the go-to person within that area that people will gravitate towards and want to do business with you because of your knowledge base.
Yeah, I think that's the problem we have is that reading. I mean, it seems like it should be a normal thing, but even with everything going on, the news is feeding everybody. Nobody's reading any content of what's that really mean or where did that come from. So for the young people out there, I know you mentioned some things to me earlier, like when I was younger, I wish I was doing this. So
Correct.
would that be kind of your message for the young people? Like, don't give up on reading, even though you have a smartphone, use Kindle or something. Would you say that's a big message that they need to get now?
Absolutely. Keep learning. Every single day you should be learning something new. And then also question things. Vet. I hate to use redundancy there, but it's so critical because of the fact that you need to understand the people that you're gravitating towards with regard. Are they the real experts? They really know what the hell they're talking about? Or are they just someone that was a basket weaver 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they're a social media or marketing expert or an expert in some other area? This happens. I see it every day.
Yep.
It's incredulous. This would not have happened years ago. I hate to date myself, but there's no way in hell that this would have occurred 15, 20 years ago. But with the internet, if you position yourself handsomely on the internet, people don't vet you. They don't go back and they don't look at whether you have an educational background in there. They don't look
Yep.
if you have experience. They look at what you're doing right now with regard to positioning yourself and what you're speaking. Is it the gospel according to John? They think it is if you position yourself quite readily and aggressively on the internet. If you're aggressive, and people do not vet people. It's really incredulous.
Well, I think that's what I like about you. You combine offline with online. I see you out there with Jim a lot doing LinkedIn Lives for networking events. You're doing in person. You're showing up other local events. So would you say that's kind of a lost art in today's society is, offline networking as well as online?
Without question. And the thing is, what you should do is you use online tools. Remember, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google, there are tools to facilitate connecting with people face-to-face if you possibly can, or doing it over StreamYard or any of the other tools that are out there with regard to connecting with people if they live remotely. But make an effort to connect with people on a human-to-human basis. That has not died, and it will never die. And I think it's so critically important that people recognize that. And don't just sit there behind a computer all day. Get out there and meet people and develop your social skills so that you're able to do so. And one of the things I mentioned was Toastmasters, a great facilitator of developing those social skills and leadership skills, the speaking skills to help you with regard to networking. But also have a game plan. If you're going out there face-to-face meetings, don't just arbitrarily go out and go to a meeting for the sake of going to a meeting. Called FOMO concept of fear of missing out. No, it's critical that you have a game plan. What are your goals and objectives? Because if you go to meetings either with a large group or somewhat large group or with individuals, what do you want to get out of it? And more importantly, what can you do to help the people that you meet at those meetings to grow their careers or their respective businesses? Who connected them to that's going to help them out? Develop that mindset. There's a book called Up Your Game by David Bradford, and I've learned a lot from that. Yeah, I mentioned it actually in all my talks. And basically, his whole premise is, to help others. Help boomerang may come back. It might not. However, it doesn't matter if you're helping others along the way. But don't, be genuine. And I can tell you, sometimes it gets difficult to follow up on all this stuff, but try your best. And people recognize that. But connect people.
And that brings a good check-in here real quick.
Seriously, as much as possible.
Let me check in real quick. Dan Jordan, you and I's friend, he said, how do you be aggressive without sounding like a big blowhard? Which I think is important because, LinkedIn Live only lets certain people do it. And I see some people just are a big blowhard just ranting on LinkedIn Live. So how do you think somebody can get their marketing to be aggressive without sounding like a blowhard?
First of all, address the needs of the audience. What is it for the audience, not for you? So don't be a blowhard. Address the needs of your audience and make sure it's genuine. Make sure you're giving them valid information and not just something that you just being a blowhard about. And we all know certain people that are out there giving information that really is not applicable to each and every individual. No one size fits all. You need to recognize that. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone can be a corporate business person. And Dan Jordan certainly would be aware of that with regard to being a corp. I couldn't see Dan lasting 1 hour in a corporation, quite honestly. No one did.
Dan couldn't.
Yeah, seriously. So no, there's no one size fit all for us, all individuals. But the information you should provide should be to your audience and should be genuine and something that can help them along the journey.
I think that's like an issue now, just because if you think about the 90s and early 2000s, we had these mega personalities on the radio and TV, and they were just in your face. I mean, you had, Howard Stern, you had the chopper with the cars, selling the cars, and they were like these big personalities that was just, oh, that's different. But I think now that we have so much content, you can kind of tune that out and say, nope, that's not relevant to me. So I want to say going forward, I mean, we know everybody's connected. We have Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these different things. The messaging, I think that's a lost art for people who are writing copy. And I know you've done a lot of copy yourself.
Correct. I've done a lot of copywriting. Absolutely. And
so what's kind of the missing link? Because I see people write these long blog posts or these long text posts on LinkedIn. It's just like a rant. What do you think is missing? Is it the beginning of it, or what do you think is the problem?
The audience.
Okay.
Address the needs of the audience and the time of the audience to read and absorb the information. Like, for instance, if you're in a B2B environment and you're talking to an audience, you should make it very, very succinct. Just bullet points, whatever it might be, and just put it out there from a standpoint of a short narrative addressing their issues. They don't have time for storytelling. And that's, I think, one of the fallacies today, that everyone says you should be a storyteller. Storytelling has a time and a place, but it's not a situation, not one size fits all. So what you want to grab their attention with a compelling headline, and then the first paragraph should be something that really describes how you solve their problem. And then the 5 points that you can utilize to help solve your problem. And then a summary at the very bottom, and that's it. But make it very short, unless it's a really like a handbook or a real solid information piece. Then it could be longer. But make it very succinct and addresses their issues with 4 or 5 bullet points. Otherwise, they get lost. They don't have the time. I can tell you, I worked in corporate America for many decades, and you don't have the time to breathe in a lot of cases. You're going from one issue to another. You're going from one memo or one email to another one phone call to another phone call, one meeting. You just do not have the time to absorb information. You have whatever addresses their needs very succinctly is what is most critical. And I found the best people that I work for, the best managers, the ones that craft email messages or memos prior to email that were very succinct and addressed the issues at hand and what the problem was and what the respective solutions were. And that you should take that type of approach with regard to what you're writing out there in content.
Absolutely. Yeah, what was it? I think it's 8 seconds. You have to catch them with attention now. So it was better back in the day, but now it's much shorter. Well, with all these tools, I mean, it's easy to get lost in the sauce. And I think another problem people have is follow-up. Follow-up is an issue. So
absolutely, no question. Yeah, and one of the things we were talking earlier, talking about follow-up. One of the things I hate, and I will discuss this on my conference call with LinkedIn on Monday, is the LinkedIn messaging system. It's the bane of my existence. I swear. When I look at it, I feel like shooting myself because of the fact that you answer something, and next thing you know, the message goes to the top, and then do you archive it? What do you do with it? It becomes very, very cumbersome to use. So that's one of the topics I'm going to do. But take it offline. If you connect with someone, what I try to do as much as I can, but within reason, is I try to take it off and I put it into an email and respond accordingly to them via email. It's much more easy to organize things via an email than through a tool such as LinkedIn in the messaging platform. And then I try to use a tool called Nimble, and I do that as much as I can. It's my #1 productivity tool. If you look at my Twitter feed, it's my top tweet. It's my pin tweet that I have out there. I've been using it for years, and I really love it. I'm a so-called Nimble ambassador. I have some usage rights to it. They've been very generous in that regard, as a matter of full disclosure. But it's an incomparable tool. As you probably know, I have over 21,000 connections on LinkedIn and 340,000 plus on Twitter. So managing that network is very difficult in trying to keep up with things. But Nimble has helped me as much as possible be as productive in keeping track of people and nurturing my relationships with them. For instance, I can go into Nimble, and I'll thank people for following me or retweeting or liking things, and I do that through Nimble because I can see if there've already been a connection, how much interaction I've had over the years with them, so I can thank them for their ongoing support. That's how I do it, is through Nimble. Otherwise, keeping track of all these people might be very, very difficult and challenging. But you have to do that. You have to really focus in on a certain number of people, maybe 100, 200, 300 max, that you really focus in on and developing and nurturing those networks with those people. And if you don't have a CRM such as Nimble, then start with a spreadsheet. But get the names of the people and their email addresses off of LinkedIn and off of the cumbersome LinkedIn messaging system as much as possible and do it through emails or through a CRM.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that because I mean, I'm at that point where I have a ton of connections on LinkedIn and managing it. I do have a handful that are like, these are some relationships I got to cultivate. And it makes me think about Jerry Seinfeld once said, we don't have a lack of greatness, we have a lack of focus. And
True, absolutely
you
true.
could have all these connections that just even never focus on them. And I did that for a long time. I just had no engagement, but I think that's a big superpower now. And Dan commented again, he said, Jeff connected me to a great lead and a new friend. Thanks, Jeff. So you hooked him up with a great connection.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I try to do that. People helping one another is so critical. You never know what people are going through or if their business is successful or not. And you want to make the best of every effort you possibly can in doing what you can to support people.
Mm-hmm.
Dan knows. I mean, Dan has been intimately involved in the career networking area for 10 years, such as myself.
Mm-hmm.
And been out there speaking to people and teaching them various tricks about sales. As a matter of fact, I consider him one of the preeminent salespeople I know. I don't know many salespeople that are as street smart as Dan Jordan. I highly recommend him for anyone that wants to up their game with regard to sales and connecting with people, particularly at a local level, but also on an enterprise level, because he has that type of foundation. He's not a BS artist. He tells it like it is, and
yeah,
he knows how to teach people how to sell.
Yep, I agree, and I think that's a missing. All these tools we have, I love that you have the soft skills of the human-to-human interaction. So yes, for listening tools, we're telling Nimble, we're talking about LinkedIn messaging, all these different tools, but
Right.
in person still trumps all those things, and it's still the most powerful. So when it comes to your marketing, let's say I connect with somebody,
Correct.
they're a valid person for me. What's marketing look like for you when you're connecting with someone that you're saying, hey, this is a valid connection, I can benefit them? What is your messaging usually? Are you looking through their profile, seeing what they're into, or are you just kind of going to their industry and saying something specific that you can address for them?
No, I generally look at people and what are their backgrounds? What are they trying to accomplish? Where do they want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And how can I align them with someone who has similar philosophy with regard to what they want to do and
Mhm.
how they would be beneficial to one another? And whether, from a standpoint of being within their network or uh, helping them with their business immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You just never know. Like in the case of Dan, I connected with a guy, and evidently this guy is probably going to hire Dan to do some sales training for him. And I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea making that connection. It was just the guy had reached out to me, had seen something I posted about Dan in one of his talks, and he was amazed at Dan's capabilities and asked if I could connect him with them, and I certainly did so. But normally, what I do is I'll meet these individuals, and I will send out a so-called three-way email,
Yeah.
which I will introduce one person to the other, and I'll say why they should benefit from knowing one another, and then I will attach their LinkedIn profiles. I will download them and upload them into the email, and I will also provide the phone numbers for the individuals. Leave it from there. Let them connect with one another, talk to one another, and hopefully meet face to face to carry the relationship further. But I try to tee it up for them and try to help them as much as possible.
I think that's a lost skill there. Because a lot of people they'll share the profile and link the messaging, but like you said, the messaging is kind of convoluted. So I think that's actually smart of you to send the profile in the email because let's face it, we introduce people, and the person receiving the introduction is like, well, how do I know their background?
Correct.
Do I know their experience level? Are they from a college I hate? Whatever.
Right.
That's actually a really good way to intermix I introduce you in person with using their social media platform. So with that being said, have you ever done that with somebody that had like no profile, or do you kind of vet it out and say, let me look at their background before I send this profile to somebody?
I will vet their profiles, quite honestly. I'll look
Okay.
at their profiles. If someone has no profile, in this day and age, I consider them that there's something inherently wrong.
Okay.
That they're what are they hiding? For the most part, and if they have 2 or 3 profiles, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I wonder about their competency because we're in the digital age. LinkedIn has about 675 million people that are on it now. And
Hmm.
if you don't have a profile, you're nobody with regard to your profession or that. Now, the profiles themselves, uh, and I can tell this from experience, you want to continue to update them, and they might not always be stellar. You should try to have a stellar profile. You should also try to have a profile with a photo that is clearly up to date. Like,
Yeah.
Jim, in the particular case there, is I met him a little over a year ago. He was a networking meeting here in Atlanta, and he
Hmm.
looked at me funny. I thought he had a social disease or something, the way he was looking at me, okay? Or I hadn't combed my hair correctly or whatever it was. But so I asked him, he said, I know you. I said, you do? Yeah, I've seen you in social media or whatever, after I mentioned my name. He said,
Yeah.
I didn't recognize you. Because what happens before I started this entrepreneurial journey, I had dark hair. Okay.
Ah.
But my hair has really become progressively grayer as I've become more of an entrepreneur. So
Right.
with that, I went out and immediately had a photographer take a new picture of me and updated my profile picture so people would recognize me.
Yep.
It is what it is. I mean, my other picture was much better, but because my hair was a lot darker. But I am
Yeah.
who I am, and why try to hide anything?
No,
But
it's
it's so
true.
very, very important.
Yeah, it's like a gift and a curse with me with the bow tie thing because I'll be out and about and somebody will say, "Hey, you're that bow tie guy." So I almost have to always wear it, and I'm thankful for it. But
Oh, yeah, absolutely great branding. Seriously, the only, as I mentioned earlier, the only bow tie guy that I know of in town here.
yeah, and it was total accident, but it's just now I have to like always wear it.
So tell
So
me, how did you get into the bow ties?
it was basically I would cold call people, and I would have to meet them somewhere like at a Starbucks, and they say, "How will I know who you're going to be?" And then I said, "I'll be the guy with the bow tie."
Oh,
And
okay.
my mentor that got me into insurance heard that and said, "Oh, I like that. That's cool." And I was like, "Huh, okay." And then when I was making my LinkedIn profile, updating it, I said, "Okay, let me put something besides insurance agent." So I just put the guy with the bow tie.
So how
And
many bow ties do you own?
they're mostly net ties. I have a handful of bow ties, but these are actually net ties I tie as a bow tie.
Oh, really?
That
Okay.
was one of my later posts will be the bow tie challenge and showing that all, but it's really just a net tie. So anybody can do it. It's just a matter of doing it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, so what you should do? Do you have a YouTube video to show how to do it?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. That's how I learned it before. I got to really update my YouTube. I'm slacking on that angle, definitely, but I'll update it. And I had some check-ins real quick. Dan said it's not Dan, it's the Deej. You guys are way too kind to
Okay,
me.
I'm sorry.
And then Stacy DeMarco, she said, "Great advice. Nice to see you, Jeff."
Okay, same here.
This is all part of the LinkedIn meetup gang. We're supposed to kind of do that, but unfortunately, Corona got it, so we'll do it later. But right now, so going back on that with personal branding. So, would you say marketing is a part of personal branding, or personal branding is a part of marketing?
It's a part of marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, without question. There's so many of these. It's another tool, but a very powerful tool with regard to what you're doing in that. And it should actually reflect. It should be genuine, authentic, not a bunch of fluff, a
Yeah.
bunch of BS, but who you are. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's one of the fallacies that everything has to be perfect. For instance, let me go back to what I stated at the outset. I was selling infrared moisture analyzers. And
Hmm.
talk about perfect. When the co-founders started the two founders started that company, they didn't
Hmm.
have a product for physical release. So what they
Hmm.
did is they took a shoebox and they painted the shoebox and slapped their logo on the shoebox and took a picture of that. And that was a product, a $7,000 instrument that was represented on the company brochure by a shoebox and a photograph. Seriously,
That's funny.
it wasn't perfect, but it worked. So
Yeah.
think outside the box. What do you have to do to really get out there? And it could be the shoebox with the logo slapped on the side that no one knows the difference of. Getting out there and getting in the information out there, creating awareness for your product or service, but you do not have to be perfect
Yeah.
with regard to anything. And I think that's a fallacy. We all strive for perfection, and there's no perfect individual out there. Everyone
Hmm.
has made mistakes,
Yep.
and everyone will continue to make mistakes. But you
Hmm.
be genuine and authentic, and the real deal with regard to what you're doing. Like one of the things one of my pet peeves, and I talk about this in my career ministry workshops. There's an individual out there. I don't want to name who it is, but this individual is one of the top 50 social media marketing people in the world and recognized as such. This individual back years ago, I don't want to, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, they're actually taking their LinkedIn profile and they were listing multiple jobs within their respective area. For instance, they had a certain business. Like if I put Shein Marketing, then I would list like 10 jobs within Shein Marketing. I'm a brand storyteller. I'm a copywriter. I'm a video aficionado. I'm a salesperson. But they would list all of these things and they would stuff it with keywords for all the respective disciplines. So if you do a search for them on LinkedIn, they would come up number one all the time in all these various disciplines. And they were out there, they were doing this. I kid you not, if you had printed their LinkedIn profile out, it would probably extend for 6 feet or more with regard to the amount of paper that it generated from the profile. This person was out selling people on doing this, giving advice to people throughout. There was a person in Australia, as a matter of fact, that was doing this as a result of this person giving the advice on doing this. So don't do that. You'll be discovered. Yeah, people will find out who you are and what are you doing from that is disingenuous or unethical. And you, in my particular case, I want nothing to do with that individual to this day because I saw what they were doing, gaming the system. So don't do that. Just be genuine and ethical and authentic with regard to whatever you're doing from a personal branding perspective. And don't create that you're not. Seriously. Very challenging, but do it because people will, if they vet you, they'll discover the idiosyncrasies or the problems within your profile, your persona.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to what you were saying is that you start with the marketing with your audience first, and then you get the personal brand. So I think this person
aligns with
the personal brand first.
No, personal brand should come after you define what your target audience is and what your goals and objectives are. That should all tie together as part of the framework that you use, the foundation of that house that you're building for your respective business or your brand, and the brand is part of it.
So Jeff is broken down everybody for these new people just getting into LinkedIn or social media. Do not worry about the personal brand off the rip. You need to have your marketing down pat first, and I agree with that. It's kind of like
and have it written. So make sure someone vets it. They look at it. For instance, there's, and I talk about this during the workshops I give at Russell United Methodist, and the previous ones are good. There's if you do a search on LinkedIn under Manger, Manger, you come up with hundreds of thousands of mangers. Do you know what a manger is, Daryl?
The little thing you put with the hay in for.
What a manger is, it's a manager that doesn't know how to spell.
Oh, yes. I'm thinking about the actual word, like the
guy. It was about 6 or 7 years ago, I think, and this guy was a quality assurance manager at Hewlett Packard. He not only misspelled manager as manger, but he also misspelled Hewlett Packard in his profile. He was trying to get a quality assurance job.
You can't spell the company.
He didn't have a snowball in hell's chance of getting a job hired for that. If people looked at his profile and saw that he had misspelled manager and also misspelled Hewlett Packard. So you need to be cognizant of that. Write this stuff down. Have people review it and put it through spell checkers before you put it out there. One of the things I really hate is when I put something out there and I have a typo. And as you know, there's no spell checker on LinkedIn. So that can happen. And so if you come across anyone with a typo, please let them know. Because if you're a professional in this world, you want to be as correct and present as professional an image as possible. And typos are a real killer for that.
Oh yeah, I'm quick to tell that because I catch it myself. Like, I forgot the A in that. Like you're typing on your phone or something, and it doesn't have a quick spell correct. So yeah, definitely help people out with that. And a couple comments to check in with. Chris Stone said, "Now I'm the necktie guy since I broke the secret of how I make my bow ties." Now I'm the necktie guy. My fraternity brother Benji Nunn said, "Great advice, gentlemen. Thanks, Benji." And Chris Stone also said, "Great insight. Just stay honest and give back." Then has taxes and accounting. That's Marcela Cañal. If you need taxes and accounting, she's one of the few bilingual people I know in that space. She said hello.
Oh, okay, great. Now,
So,
one other
go ahead.
one other point of advice. One thing I've seen in all the networking, God knows how many over the last 10 years, I cannot tell you how many networking meetings I've been to. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and some people talk about business cards. It's like they're the enemy of every person. Okay, they're an enemy, but they're also your best friend because of the fact that I've gone to so many networking meetings, and like I said, and I went to this one back, it was probably a year ago, and I have hearing problems in my left ear, so I don't always hear what people are saying when they're going around the room and introducing themselves. So this individual got up and gave their elevator pitch. I didn't hear the whole thing. I didn't even catch their name because they said it so quickly. And so what happened is the person, I really wanted to talk to them because they had something that aligned with what I was doing. I wanted to meet with them concerning their business. And they didn't have a business card. They didn't believe in business cards. They believe in everything being electronic. And so I didn't catch their name. I didn't get a business card from them. So I had no way of connecting with them. About a month later, they reached out to me because they had my business card. They had left before I had the opportunity to talk to them after. But I really hate this advice about not having business cards. Everyone should have business cards and be prepared to provide those to people if they ask for them or if they feel that there's some type of connection there with that respective individual. Don't be an individual who goes out there just arbitrarily. Here's my business card. Here's my business card. You don't want to do that, but you want to be think about it strategically, but have them and be prepared to talk to every individual that you meet because you never know where an opportunity lies. As I mentioned, the job in technology, which lasted for decades, was a result of a chance talk to a stranger in the Virgin Islands. So you never know who you're going to meet, and then you want to have that business card so you can make that connection. Electronic business cards have a time and a place, but they should be a supplement to the paper business cards and not something that completely replaces them. I don't know if you feel the same, Daryl, but I think it's very, very important in business circles. And whoever is talking that electronic business cards are the panacea or the complete replacement for paper business cards, I think is full of crap, quite honestly. I don't know if Dan
I
feels.
like both. Yeah, what I'll do is like if I'm at an event, I'll have some cards with me, but then I'll say, "Hey, are you on LinkedIn?" So then I'll go there and say, "Well, why don't we connect there since we're both here? We could do the Bluetooth see who's nearby thing." So I'll do that. But some people I meet, they're like, "No, my LinkedIn's not up to date. I don't have one, whatever." Then I give the card. I'm kind of being eco-friendly and also cost per card is where I kind of come from. I'm like, I'm just giving out cards for nothing. I'm just wasting money here.
Right.
So I'm like, well, my LinkedIn says a lot more than my card, so let's do that if you have it. If you don't, fine, here's a card.
Yeah, correct. No, I think that's a good flaw. But the other thing is, from a standpoint, sometimes you meet people, and let's face it, opening the Bluetooth and making sure your Bluetooth connection is on, and then going through the LinkedIn, it takes a few seconds to do. And so it's a little bit cumbersome, and not all people are comfortable with doing that. So that's why I think that the card has a time and a place. You have that as something that you can provide to those people instantaneously rather than having to go through that process.
Actually, talking about that, to talk about cards, do you think your business cards are marketing opportunity people are missing, like putting something more on your card?
Without question. The other thing is, and again, I'm doing a poor job of this right now with regard to email signatures, both whether it's on emails through your PC or Mac or on your cell phones, is having email signatures and go out to them representing who you are so people can pass that along accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I know mine I put on the bottom of it. Don't forget to ask me about low to no cost benefit solution for your business.
Yeah, absolutely critical. But that's simple, inexpensive marketing tool that I still feel has a great deal of relevance with regards. But from a business card perspective, though, try to take photos and capture the business cards in Nimble or some other CRM that you have. There are ways of doing that very easily.
Yep. Okay.
So you have stacks of business cards.
Yes, I've gone through that, and that's definitely a pain.
Right, correct.
But I want to be respectful of your time here. So anything you want to leave the audience with? Like, I know you got the interview with LinkedIn coming up. You said next week, right?
Correct, on Monday.
So I'm going to give you some suggestions about the messaging. Anybody watching this live, are you okay with them commenting here or messaging you?
Oh, without question. Again, my main emphasis right now is on thought leadership. I'm working on a book on thought leadership, which I have been for quite a while.
Okay.
And trying to align myself with people that are real go-to individuals with their respective professions, have experience and expertise. And when people want to ask questions, like in your particular case, what benefits of that, they gravitate towards you as the solutions person.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to interview, people for that to finish this book.
Okay, so we'll look for people to interview. I'll try to introduce you to some folks. And then Stacy, real quick, she said, I would much rather get a card. It has email and phone on it. That's a good point. Right. Some people don't put their phone number and their email and their LinkedIn. I don't know why.
Yeah, very troubling, quite honestly. And I've come across people, I've just gone on to the next individual. If I can't find their contact information on LinkedIn, it's hidden or whatever, they haven't displayed it. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, please, people, if you don't have your phone number and email, I know you're going to get robo-dialed sometimes and spam sometimes, but you never know who's going to call you. Like I had a call from Chicago one time for my broker that saw me on live and said, hey, I want to talk about the work you're doing. And that's because my phone number, I didn't say my phone number on the live, but my profile had it. So please put some kind of contact info on your profile besides your Twitter feed.
Well, can I tell you, I've had my email address out there for years. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned, I have 21,000 people I'm connected to on LinkedIn and the large number of Twitter. And I get very few spam emails, spam phone calls, quite honestly. So, and I'm out there. If you're a female, you might want to have a Google phone number of that out there so they don't harass you.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm out there and I get very little spam messages.
Good. And then Dan said, your card is the cheapest sales tool.
Yes.
I will comment that say you're your cheapest sales tool because your personal, you being there in front of somebody.
Correct.
That's what I'll combat with, but the V's will feel differently.
Yes.
But so you're working on the book. Anything else you want to plug for the people to kind of follow you with?
Well, again, help someone. And right now we're going through some trying times. And over the next few months, there are going to be a lot of people that may not get their jobs back if they're laid off. Just think of that. Do whatever you can to help the people in your neighborhood, relatives, friends, or whatever, survive this. Because one of the problems in it's very, very challenging if you're laid off. I can tell you that from experience. And most people do not reach out to you. You'd be surprised at who reaches out and who doesn't. It's not necessarily your circle of friends or relatives. It's people that are somewhat tenuous connections that are most helpful to you. Just recognize that, but help everyone because everyone's in this together and we need to come out of this together. And the only way of doing that is helping each other survive what we're going through now and what we will be going through over the next 6 months or so.
I like that. Open your arms and give some love, everybody.
Correct.
All right. Well, so ends another episode of Business with Benefits. Thank you, Jeff. You guys will check it on the replay and we'll catch you next time.
Real pleasure. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.